Omalicha had always loved makeup. From a young age, she would watch her mother carefully apply makeup for special occasions, fascinated by how it transformed her face. She dreamed of becoming a makeup artist and making others feel beautiful. One day, while walking through the busy streets of Lagos, Omalicha met someone who would change her life forever. It was Adama, a famous makeup artist known for her skill and creativity. Adama was older and wiser, with a calm confidence that instantly put Omalicha at ease. She saw potential in Omalicha's eagerness and raw talent and decided to take her under her wing. Adama invited Omalicha to her makeup studio, a bright and lively space filled with colorful makeup products and shiny mirrors. The walls were decorated with pictures of beautiful faces that Adama had worked on over the years. There, Omalicha learned how to blend colors, apply foundation, and create perfect eye makeup. Adama patiently guided her, offering tips and tricks that only someone with years of experience could share. As the days passed, Omalicha and Adama became more than just mentor and student. They became best friends. Omalicha admired Adama's skills and looked up to her like an older sister. Adama, in turn, was impressed by Omalicha's dedication and passion for makeup. The two spent hours together, laughing, practicing, and creating magic with their brushes. Omalicha felt like she was finally living her dream. Adama always encouraged Omalicha to follow her heart and pursue her passion for beauty. She told Omalicha that she had the talent to rise to the top of the beauty industry. Omalicha felt safe with Adama and trusted her completely. Little did she know, Adama had secrets of her own that would soon change everything. As weeks passed, Omalicha's skills improved, and her confidence grew. She began taking on more clients in Adama's studio. But something strange started happening. Despite her best efforts, clients began complaining about her work. Some said her makeup didn't last as long as they expected, while others complained that it didn't look as good as before. Omalicha was confused and frustrated. She had worked hard on every client, giving her best effort each time. She couldn't understand why things were going wrong. To make matters worse, Adama had become distant. She no longer spent as much time with Omalicha in the studio. She would often disappear during busy hours, leaving Omalicha to handle everything on her own. When she did return, she would act strangely, almost as if she was hiding something. One day, while cleaning up after a busy client, Omalicha noticed something unusual. Adama had left a strange bag in the corner of the studio. It was filled with odd-looking items. Dark candles, a bundle of herbs, and makeup tools that didn't seem to belong in a professional studio. Omalicha's heart raced as she stared at the items. Why would Adama have things like that? Her mind raced with questions. What was going on? Why was Adama acting so secretive? Omalicha had always trusted her, but now she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Could her mentor, the woman she had looked up to, really be hiding something from her? Every time she looked at Adama, a feeling of unease crept over her. It was as if the woman she once knew was slipping away, replaced by someone or something else. Omalicha didn't know it yet, but her life was about to take a dark turn. That night, Omalicha couldn't sleep. Her mind was filled with questions about Adama's strange behavior and the mysterious bag she had found in the studio. She tossed and turned, unable to shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Then, in the middle of the night, Omalicha had a strange dream. It was so vivid, so real that she felt as though she was truly there. In the dream, she found herself in a dark, cold room. The air was thick with an eerie stillness. In the center of the room, there was a large table covered in makeup products, bruised palettes, cracked foundations, and twisted brushes. But there was something wrong about them. They didn't look like the tools used to create beauty. They seemed to be instruments of something much darker. Adama stood in the middle of the room, her eyes closed in a trance-like state. She was surrounded by burning candles, their flames flickering in the shadows. Strange symbols were drawn on the walls, and Omalicha could almost feel the energy in the room buzzing, like it was alive. Adama's hands moved slowly, as if she was preparing something. She lifted a makeup brush to her lips and whispered words that Omalicha couldn't understand. The dream felt so real that Ukomika's heart pounded in her chest. She wanted to scream but no sound came out. She reached out to grab Adama's arm, but before she could, the room began to spin, the candles flickering wildly as shadows seemed to come alive. Suddenly Ukomika woke up, gasping for air. Her body was drenched in sweat, and her heart was still racing. She could still feel the weight of the dream, as though it had somehow seeped into her very soul. But what did it mean? Why was Adama involved in something so terrifying? The dream haunted her all day. Every time she looked at Adama, she saw her in that dark room, surrounded by candles and strange rituals. Ukomika couldn't ignore the feeling anymore. She needed to know the truth. The next day, Ukomika couldn't shake the dream from her mind. It felt like a warning, like the universe was telling her something important about Adama. She knew she had to confront her, but she wasn't sure what to say. What if she was wrong? What if it was just a nightmare? But deep down, Ukomika felt a strong need to find out the truth. That afternoon, when the studio was quieter, Ukomika took a deep breath and decided to speak to Adama. She found her in the back room, organizing some makeup products. Ukomika stood in the doorway for a moment, gathering her courage. Finally she spoke. "Adama, I need to talk to you," Ukomika said, her voice shaky but firm. Adama looked up from her work, a smile on her face, though it didn't reach her eyes. "What's wrong, Ukomika? You look troubled." Ukomika hesitated, but the dream flashed in her mind. "I've been noticing things lately. Strange things. And I had a dream last night about you." Adama's expression hardened for a split second, but she quickly regained her calm demeanor. "A dream? What kind of dream?" Ukomika took a deep breath and stepped closer. "I saw you in a dark room. There were candles and strange symbols. You were doing something with the makeup. It wasn't normal. What's going on, Adama?" Adama's eyes widened, but she quickly covered it up with a laugh. "You've been working too hard, Ukomika. Dreams can be confusing." That's all it was, just a dream. But Ukomika wasn't convinced. "Are you sure? Because lately you've been acting strange. You're always disappearing and clients are complaining about my work. I don't know what's happening, but I need to know the truth." For a moment, Adama didn't say anything. Her expression softened, but her eyes were guarded. Then her face hardened again and she crossed her arms. "Ukomika, you're overthinking things. Nothing is happening that you need to worry about. Trust me, okay?" But Ukomika could see it in her eyes. Something was being hidden. "I can't just trust you without answers, Adama. I have to know what's going on." Adama's smile faltered for a moment, and Ukomika could sense the growing tension between them. Adama took a step back, her arms folding across her chest defensively. "You don't need to know everything," Adama said, her voice low. "Just focus on your work and let me handle the rest." Ukomika's heart raced. She felt the walls between them growing higher. She had to know more, and no matter how much Adama tried to deny it, Ukomika couldn't ignore the truth that was slowly unfolding before her. Ukomika's mind raced as she left the studio that day. Adama's words didn't reassure her. The look in her eyes, the way she avoided the truth, it only confirmed Ukomika's fears. She had to know what was really going on. She couldn't let it go. That night, Ukomika decided to do something bold. She had to find out what Adama was hiding. She knew where Adama lived, a beautiful mansion on the outskirts of the city. Ukomika had been there before, but only for social visits, never for anything that would make her feel like a spy. But tonight she had no choice. Under the cover of darkness, Ukomika made her way to Adama's mansion. Her heart pounded with every step, but her determination was stronger than her fear. She crept quietly around the side of the house, looking for an open window or door. After a few moments, she spotted a small door at the back of the mansion, slightly ajar. Without hesitating, she slipped inside. The house was eerily quiet. Ukomika tiptoed through the halls, careful not to make a sound. Her mind raced with questions. What was Adama hiding? What kind of secrets were in this house? Eventually, Omalicha found herself in a room at the end of the hall. The door was cracked open and she peeked inside. The sight that greeted her made her stomach drop. The room was filled with strange artifacts, photographs of clients, makeup products smeared with dark stains, and odd symbols painted on the walls. In the center of the room was an altar, with candles burning around it. The air felt heavy, almost suffocating. Omalicha's hands trembled as she stepped closer to the altar, her eyes scanning the items on the table. That's when she saw it, something that made her blood run cold. There, among the makeup tools, was a small vial of dark liquid, and next to it, a photo of one of her clients. Omalicha felt a chill run down her spine. This was no ordinary makeup studio. Suddenly, she heard a noise behind her. Omalicha spun around to see Adama standing in the doorway, her eyes wide with a mixture of anger and fear. "What are you doing here?" Adama's voice was low and threatening. Omalicha stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. She had uncovered the truth. "Adama, what is all this?" she whispered. Adama's expression darkened. She stepped into the room, her voice trembling. "You don't understand, Omalicha. I've been using these rituals to keep my beauty, my power. The makeup, it's not just for clients. It's how I stay relevant, how I keep my reputation." Omalicha's eyes widened. "You've been using dark rituals to steal beauty, to harm your clients." She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Adama's face twisted with regret and anger. "I didn't want to, but I had to. Without it, I'd lose everything. I'm sorry, Omalicha. But I can't stop now." Omalicha felt a wave of betrayal wash over her. The woman she had trusted, her mentor, had been hiding a dark secret all along. The dream, the strange behavior, it was all true. In that moment, Omalicha knew she couldn't let this go. She had to expose the truth, no matter the cost. Omalicha stood frozen, her heart pounding as Adama stepped closer, the dim light of the hidden room casting eerie shadows on her mentor's face. For a moment, the air felt still, heavy with an unspoken plea. Adama's voice broke the silence, trembling but determined. "Please, Omalicha. Don't do this," Adama whispered, her hands reaching out, trembling. "Everything I've done, it was to protect what I built. To stay on top in an industry that chews people up and spits them out." Omalicha backed away, her resolve firm. "Protect. Adama, you've stolen from your clients. You've hurt people to keep your so-called reputation. How could you?" Adama's eyes narrowed, her desperation morphing into anger. "You don't understand what it takes to survive here. They idolized me, they begged me for beauty and perfection. I gave them what they wanted, even if it cost me." Her voice cracked, and a flicker of guilt crossed her face. But Omalicha didn't waver. "It didn't cost you. Cost them. And now you're asking me to keep quiet. To betray everything I believe in." Adama's anger boiled over. "Betray you? I made you, Omalicha. Without me, you'd still be practicing eyeliner on fruit." Omalicha flinched but held her ground. "And without me, you wouldn't have a conscience staring back at you now. I trusted you, Adama. I thought of you as family. But this is unforgivable." Adama's voice dropped, trembling with bitter jealousy. "You've always wanted to steal from me. My clients, my talent, my legacy. Don't act like you're some innocent victim. You've been waiting for me to fall." Tears welled in Omalicha's eyes, but she refused to look away. "I never wanted to take anything from you. I just wanted to learn, to grow. But now I can't let this go." She pulled out her phone, her fingers shaking as she recorded the room. Adama lunged forward, her voice a desperate cry. "Oh, don't do this, Omalicha." Omalicha sidestepped her, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. "It's over, Adama. This has to end." Adama fell to her knees, sobbing as the weight of her actions seemed to crush her. But even in her despair, she hissed one final warning. "If you destroy me, you'll regret it. They'll come for you next." But Omalicha had made her choice. She walked out of the hidden room, leaving Adama behind in the shadows of her own making. The video omalicha recorded sent shockwaves through the beauty industry. When she posted it online, it spread like wildfire, exposing Adama's dark secrets to her clients, peers, and admirers. The comments section was a storm of disbelief, anger, and betrayal. How could she, one user wrote. She was supposed to uplift women, not harm them. I trusted her with my wedding makeup, another added, followed by a string of angry emojis. Adama's once thriving studio became a ghost town overnight. Clients cancelled appointments, and aspiring makeup artists who had once idolized her now turned their backs. The media picked up the story, amplifying her disgrace. Journalists camped outside her mansion, their cameras flashing relentlessly whenever she dared to step out. Inside the now empty studio, Adama sat alone, staring at her reflection in a cracked mirror. The person staring back at her was a shadow of who she once was. Her once flawless skin was pale, her eyes hollow with sleepless nights. The spirits of the people she had harmed began haunting her. At first, they were whispers in the night, voices she couldn't quite make out. But as her guilt grew, so did their presence. One night, as she sat in the darkened mansion, a loud bang echoed from upstairs. Adama froze, clutching the armrest of her chair. Her breaths came in quick, shallow gasps as shadows danced along the walls. "Leave me alone," she screamed into the silence, but the whispers only grew louder. Meanwhile, omalicha found herself thrust into the spotlight. The world celebrated her courage for exposing the truth, and opportunities poured in. She took over the studio, transforming it into a place of honesty and empowerment. She created workshops for aspiring makeup artists, sharing her skills and encouraging them to pursue their dreams without shortcuts. But omalicha couldn't ignore the pain of losing someone she had once called a friend. Adama had been a mentor, a guide, and a sister in the world of makeup. The betrayal still stung, but she hoped that Adama would one day find redemption. Adama, however, remained trapped in her mansion, consumed by regret and fear. The shadows of her past loomed large, a constant reminder of the price of her choices. Months passed, and the once vibrant Adama was now a recluse, her mansion cloaked in silence and sorrow. She avoided the world, the weight of her actions carving deep lines into her face. Her nights were sleepless, haunted by the whispers of her wronged clients and the memories of her betrayal. One evening, as the rain drummed against her windows, Adama sat in the middle of her darkened living room, staring at the altar she had once used to carry out her rituals. The objects that had once brought her power now felt like shackles, binding her to a life of guilt and regret. She knew she couldn't live like this anymore. The next morning, Adama stepped outside for the first time in weeks. She wore no makeup, her face bare and vulnerable. She walked to the nearest studio, now owned by omalicha, and waited outside, unsure if she could face the person she had wronged so deeply. Inside, omalicha was busy mentoring a group of aspiring makeup artists. She moved with confidence, her passion for teaching evident in every gesture. When she noticed Adama standing by the door, she froze. The room fell silent as the students followed her gaze, recognizing the disgraced woman who had been at the center of the scandal. Adama stepped forward, her voice trembling. "I came to apologize," she said, her eyes welling with tears. "To you, omalicha, and to everyone I hurt." Omalicha hesitated, her heart torn between the betrayal she had suffered and the vulnerability she saw in Adama's face. "Why now?" she asked quietly. Adama lowered her head. "Because I can't live with the weight of what I've done. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want to make things right." Omalicha took a deep breath, her emotions swirling. She saw sincerity in Adama's eyes, a spark of the mentor she had once admired. Over the next few weeks, Adama began to rebuild her life, starting with a public confession. She appeared on interviews, admitting to her wrongdoings and urging others in the industry to value integrity over fame. Slowly, people began to see her efforts as genuine, though her path to redemption was far from easy. As for omalicha, she continued to thrive. Her studio became a beacon of honesty and empowerment, a place where artists could grow without fear of deceit. She chose to let go of the anger she had held toward Adama, recognizing that forgiveness was as much for herself as it was for her former mentor. In the end, Adama and omalicha found a fragile peace, their lives forever changed by the choices they had made. Though their bond would never return to what it once was, they both learned that the path to redemption, while painful, was always worth taking.